Azumo, a girl haunted by a curse of causing bad luck to anyone she touches, stands poised to end her life. Her plans are interrupted by Andy, an undead man. When Andy approaches her, despite her warnings, he gets stabbed and subsequently run over by a train. Astonishingly, Andy's body regenerates, and he reveals his undead nature to a bewildered Azumo. Azumo, believing she has killed Andy, is shocked to see him regenerate. Andy, intrigued by her unique ability, refuses to leave her alone, even as police approach. He uses his blood to fly, taking Azumo to the top of a building. There, despite her pleas, he insists she answer his questions about her ability. Azumo, under threat of being thrown off the building, reluctantly reveals her tragic past. Her ability manifested 10 years ago, causing the death of her parents in a plane explosion. Attempting to demonstrate her power, Andy hugs Azumo, resulting in a crate crushing him. In a panic, Azumo falls off the building, but Andy saves her. He expresses a vested interest in her ability, believing it might hold the key to giving him a true death. Andy and Azumo retreat to his hideout. Andy, curious about Azumo's ability and wanting to explore it further, asks her to remove her clothes, but she flees, fearing exposure. During her escape, she loses her hat, revealing her excessively long hair, which she has never cut due to her ability's deadly consequences. Despite her reluctance, Andy cuts her hair, revealing his past as a stylist and reassuring her that her ability won't affect him since he's undead. Azumo is pleasantly surprised with her new haircut, but their moment is interrupted when a group of men ambush them. These men, aware of Azumo's ability, capture Andy and handcuff Azumo, revealing their mission to control individuals with special powers, referred to as negators. The leader of the group informs Azumo of their plan to exploit her ability, drawing a distinction between their intentions and Andy's. Azumo, feeling responsible for Andy's capture, is grateful to him for cutting her hair. Then a sudden lightning strike kills one of the men. Azumo hints that her ability might be more extensive than they realize. At this critical juncture, Andy breaks free from captivity. Facing his captors, he discloses a limitation he has imposed on himself: a quirk in his brain to block out memories from his extensive undead life. By removing this quirk, Andy regains his lost memories and, with them, his formidable fighting skills. He then uses these skills to effectively combat the group that captured them. To protect Azumo, Andy complies with the leader's demand to surrender his head, which he can detach due to his undead nature. In a surprising turn, Azumo frees herself and kisses Andy, triggering what she warns will be the ultimate bad luck. As Andy battles the leader, Azumo escapes the building, just as a meteor strikes, causing a huge explosion. She fears Andy is dead, but he miraculously survives, reuniting them amidst the chaos. Andy, ever fixated on finding a true death, suggests that mating with Azumo might trigger catastrophic bad luck. However, Azumo rebuffs this idea, explaining from a past experience that the intensity of bad luck she causes correlates with her feelings for the person involved. She warns Andy that any forced intimacy will only make her hate him, negating the potential for the kind of misfortune he seeks. In response, Andy alters his approach, declaring that he won't allow Azumo to die until she falls in love with him. Later, Andy takes proactive steps to protect Azumo by equipping her with heavy armor. He informs her about an organization hunting them, explaining that they are both negators, individuals who defy the world's rules. Andy expects another group from this organization to pursue them soon. He admits that given the enemy's knowledge of their abilities, their chances of victory are slim and suggests fleeing. While escaping on a bike, Andy admits to having no specific destination in mind. He reassures Azumo that he won't let her die until she falls in love with him, hoping her bad luck ability will then be strong enough to grant him a true death. Azumo, however, is adamant she'll never fall for him. Their escape is interrupted when a warp gate appears in the sky, signaling the arrival of their enemy. The ensuing attack separates Andy and Azumo, with Azumo finding herself unable to move her legs and running into a man named Shin. Shin captures her, but hesitates to follow Void's order to kill her, instead engaging her in conversation. Meanwhile, Andy, initially immobilized by Void, realizes he regains mobility each time he's struck. He deduces that Void's power is to paralyze him, while Shin has the ability to manipulate Azumo's will. While Azumo and Shin observe, discussing the relentless pursuit by the organization, Shin reveals the high priority assigned to Andy and Azumo following the meteor incident, indicating that more negators will be after them. Shin and Void, as negators themselves, are part of the Union, a group of 10 negators who are exempt from being hunted in exchange for completing missions. Azumo considers joining the Union to escape their pursuit, but Void dismisses the idea, stating all positions are filled. Andy, however, sees an opportunity in this, proposing they eliminate 2 Union members to take their places. He reassures Azumo of her safety, prompting her to touch him and trigger bad luck, which she clarifies is due to gratitude, not love. This results in a truck crashing into Andy and exploding, while Shin and Void manage to escape. Andy, pondering the abilities of his enemies, deduces that Void's power is to make his attacks unavoidable by freezing Andy's movements. Shin's ability remains a mystery, making Andy cautious in his approach. Amidst this, bombs detonate in the area, causing a building to collapse. Azumo is left wondering if this chaos is due to her bad luck ability or mere coincidence. In the aftermath, Void, protected by his suit, finds Andy's arms protruding from the rubble and believes he has finally captured his target. Andy demonstrates his unique ability to defeat Void. He reveals that his severed body parts vanish after 30 seconds, and uses this to his advantage by launching his bitten-off finger at Void, circumventing Void's muscle immobilization ability. This strategic move catches Void off guard, resulting in his swift defeat. Shin, witnessing Void's downfall, confronts Andy but is able to easily fend off his attacks. Andy speculates about Shin's ability, which seems related to parrying. Azumo hands Andy a sword, but Shin's ability causes Andy to hesitate, hinting at a possible mental influence. Shin cryptically remarks on the influence his ability has on their minds and refuses to disclose its nature. He then questions who will take Void's place in the Union. Andy suggests Azumo, assuring her of his survival and his intent to make her fall in love with him. As Azumo and Andy prepare for an intimate moment, Shin, amused by their antics, offers them an opportunity to join the Union by eliminating another member. He provides information about a Union member near a lake in Russia, identifiable by an emblem and a red necktie. Shin leaves them, deciding not to harm them. Azumo is surprised at their unexpected reprieve. Andy then outlines his plan to travel to Russia by boat and then by plane to Irkutsk, where his allies await to assist them in defeating another Union member, thereby securing a spot for them in the Union and potentially bringing their ordeal to a peaceful resolution. 50 years prior to the current events, Andy is shown confined in an isolation facility, observed by a young girl. Fast forward to the present, this girl, now older, is on a satellite tracking Andy's boat. As Andy and Azumo sail, Andy enjoys the journey, while Azumo, fearful of being hunted, hides. Despite her reluctance, Andy encourages her to enjoy the moment. Their respite is short-lived, as they soon come under attack. Andy reassures Azumo, confident in their ability to escape using her bad luck power. He also reflects on the versatility of their abilities, beyond mere survival. Andy speculates about the emblem representing the 10 Union members, recalling 3 individuals associated with it. The creator of his indestructible sword, a scientist who experimented on him 50 years ago, and a girl named Jean, capable of creating invisible barriers. Jean, revealed as the young girl from the past, is shown to have romantic feelings for Andy. Suddenly, their boat is destroyed by a blast from Jean's satellite, leaving Azumo unconscious under the wreckage. Using his regenerative ability, Andy frees her, and as they surface, he devises a plan. To buy time and assess their situation, Andy instructs Azumo to surrender to the enemy, pondering whether they can manipulate her bad luck ability to their advantage. Andy theorizes that Azumo's bad luck ability is influenced by the emotional value of her experiences. After their boat is destroyed, Andy moves Azumo's clothing to perform CPR, including mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, which shocks Azumo upon learning she was seen naked. Amidst this revelation, a massive explosion propels them upward, enabling them to hijack a jet. Andy swiftly incapacitates the pilot, and they escape with the plane. During their flight, Andy explains to Azumo how they can harness her bad luck ability by finding a source of misfortune and applying the right amount of contact, turning it into their advantage. However, their plane is rigged to self-destruct. Andy manages an emergency ejection, using his body to cushion their landing. They reach Irkutsk and find a beautiful lake. Andy suggests Azumo explore while he meets his allies, believing the Union won't target her amid tourists. Reflecting on the whirlwind of events since meeting Andy, Azumo's perspective on life starts to shift. In Irkutsk, Azumo encounters language barriers and ends up meeting Jean, the girl from Andy's past, who is painting. Jean, excited to meet another Japanese person, engages Azumo in painting and conversation about preference for change or constancy. Jean prefers the unchanging nature of art, while Azumo, influenced by her recent experiences with Andy, finds a new appreciation for change. This is symbolized in her painting, where she adds stars to the lonely moon, echoing her evolving outlook on life and change. Jean reveals her true identity to Izumo, much to her shock, by floating up into the sky with her tie, signifying her special abilities. Andy returns and immediately attempts to attack Jean, only to be repelled by an invisible barrier. This confirms to Izumo that Jean is indeed the one who captured Andy 50 years ago. Despite her youthful appearance, Andy explains that Jean is actually 66 years old, suggesting the organization might possess anti-aging technology. Jean, however, insists she is perpetually 16 years old. Andy realizes that Jean's ability involves creating invisible barriers, which even covered his mouth during their interaction. Jean confesses her love for Andy, explaining that she was ordered to capture him half a century ago. Since all seats in the Union were filled, Andy had to remain imprisoned. A flashback reveals Andy's time in the cell, where Jean visits him and apologizes for her actions. Andy, however, accepts his fate, seeing it as an opportunity to understand his abilities better. He expresses a desire for a rematch with Jean, confidently stating he won't lose to her again. In the present, Jean confesses that Andy's composed nature during his captivity made her fall in love with him. She lost track of him after he escaped, but his recent encounter with Izumo allowed her to locate him again. In an attempt to subdue Jean, Andy uses bombs, but she remains unharmed, expressing frustration with Shin for being the first to reach Andy and satisfaction over Void's death, which opens a spot in the Union. Andy's efforts to penetrate Jean's barrier with a flashbang and a direct attack are unsuccessful, leading him to retreat and analyze her abilities further. He realizes his friends are deceased, leaving him and Izumo to confront Jean alone. Reflecting on her manipulation of the lake's water and the invisible barrier, Andy hypothesizes that her ability is related to hardening or stabilization. Jean attacks Andy, cutting him in half with a wind-propelled weapon, but he willingly takes the hit to protect Izumo. Jean, seeing Izumo as a hindrance to Andy, attempts to convince him to abandon her. However, Andy, having deduced Jean's ability to prevent change, uses a grenade and his own decapitated head in a tactical move. The resulting explosion exposes Jean's ability, revealing hands formed by fixed air around her. Acknowledging he can't defeat Jean alone, Andy enlists Izumo's help. Izumo's touch triggers bad luck, causing Jean to become upset, believing Izumo is using her physical allure to sway Andy. Jean contrasts this with her own eternal youth, a product of her ability to prevent change. Andy theorizes about the nature of negators, categorizing them into self-targeters, who can only use their abilities on themselves, and external targeters, who can only affect others. He suspects Jean is an external targeter, despite her claims of being a self-targeter, as evidenced by her youthful appearance. Andy observes signs of aging beneath her makeup, reinforcing his theory that Jean cannot use her ability on herself. Jean, frustrated by this revelation, tries to attack Andy, who manages to fly away. Izumo, puzzled by Jean's lack of urgency, wonders why she doesn't run after them. Andy recognizes this as a potential weakness in Jean's abilities and plans to exploit it using a source of misfortune. Their plan is interrupted when an unidentified object strikes them, causing a crash. Laser beams attack them as Jean reveals her involvement in investigating a mysterious animal in the lake. She declares her intent to kill Izumo, using her abilities to assist in the creature's capture. However, a UFO suddenly appears above them, escalating the situation. In a strategic move, Andy utilizes his observation of a hole in Jean's barrier, through which she moves. He covers her with blood to obscure her vision, contemplating a way to breach her barrier. As Jean considers releasing her barrier, Andy's head, thrown by Izumo, penetrates the weak spot. This action triggers Andy's bad luck while he's inside the barrier, allowing him to reach Jean. As the situation reaches a poignant conclusion, Andy, with Izumo by his side, chooses not to kill Jean despite having the opportunity. Jean, facing her imminent death, reflects on her actions with the Union and her unfulfilled hopes for change. She compliments Izumo's painting, acknowledging the beauty of change, a concept she had not embraced before. As the effects of her anti-aging ability begin to fade, Jean asks Andy and Izumo to leave, not wanting them to witness her aged appearance. However, Andy compassionately hugs her, affirming her beauty and providing comfort in her final moments. After Jean's death, Izumo and Andy share a drink, with Izumo mourning Jean's passing. Andy recognizes the internal conflict Jean faced, balancing survival with the moral implications of her actions. Grateful for Azumo's help in saving Jean, he hears Azumo's plea to change the Union and prevent further suffering. Andy agrees to assist her in this mission. Their moment is abruptly disrupted by the opening of a warp gate, which transports them to the Union. Upon arrival, Andy launches an attack with his fingers, humorously referring to it as a greeting, but it's effortlessly halted. They find themselves seated among the Union members, with Andy provocatively telling them all to die. Shen, another Union member, greets them with apparent pleasure. The situation escalates when Andy is assaulted by Tatiana, a Union member angered by Jean's death. However, another member, Billy, intervenes, reminding everyone that infighting among Union members is prohibited, establishing a rule of conduct within the organization. Jules, the first seed member, intervenes to prevent further conflict between Andy, Azumo, Tatiana, and Billy. Jules introduces a book called Apocalypse, which outlines 6 challenging quests that the Union members must complete. These quests involve capturing other negators and defeating creatures known as UMAs, with rewards like additional Union seats. However, they face a tight deadline and potential punishment for failure. Nico, another member, runs an analysis and concludes that only 3 quests are feasible, meaning they'll likely face the punishment. Top, sitting next to Azumo, explains that Apocalypse is a powerful artifact with daunting tasks. Jules reveals that failure to comply with its quests results in Earth receiving new penalties every 3 months, part of a larger goal to confront the creator of Earth and the imposed rules. Azumo, unsettled by this, learns from Jules that leadership within the Union is determined by achievement. Motivated, Andy selects the most challenging quest involving an individual named Spoil. He decides to take on the task with Azumo and Shen. On the 21st of the month, preparations for the quest begin. Shen's subordinate Mui dresses Azumo, explaining her inability to join due to lacking an emblem. During their preparations, Andy causes a magma explosion, destroying his clothes. Shen emphasizes the importance of the special outfit, which offers numerous benefits, including language translation. Amidst these events, an alert signals the escape of a Uma named Clothes, capable of transforming into and controlling its wearer. Andy manages to subdue an affected individual, and they realize that the creature seeks a new host. It temporarily takes over Mui but is knocked out by Azumo's bad luck ability. Clothes then targets Azumo, but Andy intervenes, becoming its new host. The creature, frustrated by Andy's demanding nature, tries to consume him but is thwarted when Andy is accidentally hit by a laser from Nico, leading to Andy taming the creature, now named Clothy. Andy earns points for capturing Clothy, rising to 9th rank in the Union. Meanwhile, a report about a Uma in New York, resembling a rotting corpse, potentially Spoil, excites Andy about the prospect of a burger in America. And that's the end of our video. To see more, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.